Greetings, peace, everybody. Welcome back to Community Radio. I'm your host, Kim. Today is Wednesday. I have to repeat that to myself because I'm losing track of the days here. Everything's moving so fast. But welcome back to another segment of Community Radio. And as always, before we get started, I just wanted to take care of some new business. I wanted to invite you all and to let you all know that the Anu Nation app is available on Android phones. On that app, you can find just about everything that you can find on the internet. I know a lot of us are on the go and we are on our phones all the time. So this is a lot more convenient than having to crank up the computer and find the different websites. So everything that's on Sedulu House, Anu Nation, Enlightenment and Transformation you can find on that app. You can also view your classes. You can purchase books. You can chat with other members. Everything is on that app. So if you have an Android phone, make sure you download the app. The iOS version will come out a bit later. It takes a little bit longer with Apple apps. Okay. Also, I wanted to remind you all again that if you would like to be a part of the men's or the women's call, that you have to at least sign up for the ministry. And you can do that through anulifeglobal.org, or you can do it through the app as well. You have to at least be a part of the ministry before you can be invited to those calls. So some of the emails and things that I'm getting about links to the hangout, please sign up first, and you'll be directed once the person that handles all of our organizing gets your request. Okay, so I can't just send it to you. Also, I want to remind you that if you would like to take classes, you can go to seduluhouse.com, or you can find those same classes on my website, which is SiriusBitch.com, SiriusBitch.com. The Anu Phase 1 Challenge has actually started. It started January 1st, and it's going to run through the 14th for the first lesson. Okay, so the purpose for this is to kind of rally everybody together that's in the class, and to kind of help you move through those modules a little bit quicker. I know, for some of us, we've kind of been taking our time. Some of us have been there for years, and we still haven't made it through the complete course. But if you would like to participate in any of the Anu ministries, whether it be Enlightenment and Transformation, the Africa Initiative, if you want to, any of the projects that we have, you have to at least have successfully completed, not just click through it, but successfully completed phase 1 of the training. So we're giving you about a couple of weeks for each exercise. And if you come and just type in phase 1 challenge in the search, you'll find tips and videos on each module to kind of help you understand what's going on, tell you about some tools that you need to have for each module. Okay, and there's also, I'll be uploading a list of everything. So if you would like to kind of get a little bit of an advance on everything, you can go ahead and purchase an order or whatever you need to do, all the supplies that you need for the entire class, so that when you start a new lesson, it won't take you as long to move through it, because sometimes some of the things may be hard to find in your area. You may need to order them or whatever. So doing all that just kind of prolongs the exercise. Okay, so make sure you just type in phase 1 challenge in the Sedulu House search. You can also get to it through the app, and you can see what's going on. Some of the lessons are like 7 days long, and we'll give you about 3 weeks for those. So this is also an opportunity for you to share your experiences, to ask questions about what's going on. Please don't send them to questions@anunation.org. The purpose of having this community of students is so that you can talk to each other, get to know each other, share your experiences, ask each other questions, because sometimes some of the questions you may have already been answered in the online forums. And that's something I noticed that a lot of students don't utilize as well. So once you sign into seduluhouse.com, if you go to the forums, a lot of the questions that you may have about different things, not only just the class, but just policies and procedures and everything are answered already in those student forums. So make sure you check that out. All right. So let's see, what else is going on? I'm trying to make sure that I hit all the points. I think that's about it. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask during the show. But I wanted to continue off from yesterday. I know some of you were hanging on yesterday. I had about 2 or 3 callers that were hanging on yesterday to see if the show was going to air or not. I was late. So I actually uploaded to our YouTube channel the rest of the show. I came in maybe about 30 minutes before the show ended. So there's about an hour left from yesterday's show. But yesterday we were speaking about just psychic abilities and are you psychic? And the reason for the conversation was Monday on the women's call, we kind of got into this a bit, and we were just talking about how as children we may have displayed some different types of psychic abilities that may have been just kind of snuffed out or just kind of, dismissed by our family members, as children. But, children are a lot more open than we are as adults because they haven't, gone through all of the muck and mire that we have, as adults, and they haven't necessarily been indoctrinated fully into a culture that kind of looks at these things like, you're crazy or you're hallucinating. This is really not happening. And so sometimes when children display these things, parents or just other family members may not quite know what to do or know how to react to it or know how to nurture it or how to bring it out more in the child. So they just kind of say, it was nothing. Don't worry about it. We're taught to kind of ignore our dreams. We're kind of taught like if you're seeing things, like it's not really there. But even if you have some of this intuitiveness, even as a child, even though you may kind of push it down, in your subconscious or whatever, just kind of ignore it, it always seems to kind of carry out throughout the rest of your life. And even as an adult, this is when we start to get a little bit deeper into spirituality, and we're trying to understand some of those things. I remember even one caller on the Monday's call was saying that, she was speaking to her mother about an experience she had when she was like really, really young. And her mom was like, no, I don't remember that. So I don't know whether the parents actually just don't remember or they just kind of block it out or if they, actually just really don't remember. But I find that a lot of times they do pick up on these things, but it's just that, they don't know how to handle it. It doesn't fit into what they believe or their culture or anything. And so they just kind of, just ignore it, just put it on the back burner. And, even as adults, we kind of do this because you get bogged down with just the day-to-day things, going to work, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids, all these kind of things. So those things really don't have a place in our life until we hit some type of crisis and we're looking for signs or advice or something to kind of help us through it and try to figure out what exactly is going on. That's when we start to pay attention to it a little bit more. Even in this training, and some of the students within this training are now starting to remember things and say, oh, you know what, I remember when I was about, 10 or whatever, this happened, and I really didn't understand what was going on, or, so this show today is to kind of just talk about some of those things that may have happened. If you've had any of those experiences, like maybe if you, when you were younger, you used to see things or hear things, and didn't quite understand what was going on, or somebody may have told you you're crazy, or you really weren't saying what you were saying. So if you would like to share your experience and to just talk about it a little bit, I encourage you to call in. The number is 515-605-9862. Just press the number 1 and I'll bring you in. Yesterday we had one sister who called in, Sister Danetta, and she was sharing some of her experiences with this. I'll go to our first caller. This is 443. Greetings.
Greetings. How you doing?
We're good. How are you?
Good. I'm so sorry I missed the women's call this week. I still got all my kids at home, so my schedule is just all crazy right now. I've been staying up late with them and all kinds of stuff. And I actually, before I tuned into this show, I was listening to yesterday's show, so I haven't even had a chance to finish all of that because I had called in and I was like, "Where's she at?"
Yeah.
But the psychic thing, yeah, that's kind of interesting. This is an interesting topic, and I just wanted to call in and share my experience because when I was little, I had an imaginary friend.
Okay.
I can't believe I'm saying this on the air. But now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if this, and I'm putting up the air quotes, friend was just a spirit that was around me.
Mhm.
It was a boy, and I remember his name. I named him Ping Pong.
Okay.
And he was light skinned with curly hair, and we did everything together. Like, this was seriously like my homeboy. We would color together and play and all this stuff. And I remember family members being like, "All right, she's a little weird."
Yeah. Yeah.
Here comes Tasha and Ping Pong, And I remember getting upset when, like, we would sit down to eat and stuff, and nobody would fix Ping Pong a plate. And I was just like, "Y'all don't see Ping Pong right here? Y'all don't see him?
Yeah.
I need Ping Pong to have a plate." So now I'm wondering if, Ping Pong was just the spirit that was lingering around, and maybe I was the only person that he could connect with, because as strong as he was to me as a child, he kind of just disappeared. Like, I just
when did
didn't
he
even.
disappear?
I'm gonna say probably around, maybe I was like 8. But I remember him at like 5.
Okay.
5 years old, maybe between the ages of 5 and 6. Me and Ping Pong was, we was chilling hard.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'd say definitely by like the age of 8, like I just didn't even, he just disappeared. So, I don't know if, again, I don't know who Ping Pong was, or if he was a real boy at some point and maybe he passed away and connected with me. I don't know, As an adult, yes, I've definitely seen and felt spirits. Like you were saying in yesterday's show, you see something out the corner of your eye, or you hear something. I've heard my name being called before. I've seen things out the corner of my eye, little shadows and things like that. And I've lived in old houses, back home in Maryland. Before we moved down here, we rented a house that was built in like the late 1930s or something. It was a big house, but it was old, And yeah, I heard and saw stuff in that house all the time. Like, to the point where, yes, I would sage and stuff like that. And I would talk to whoever these spirits were. Look, I don't have no beef with you. I hope you don't have no beef with me. Please don't
Mhm.
terrorize me. You can stay here if you want, but I don't want no trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would literally just say that out loud. And I
Mhm.
didn't have any issues per se, you know. If you're here, I don't want to run you out if this was your home. Just don't bother me.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? You can stay here and, you know, you're free to move about the house. Just don't, I don't want any issues, you
Yeah.
know. So,
Did you
yeah,
ever ask who they were?
I did not. I did
Mhm.
not. I know one that I saw very, very vividly. It was a little boy, a little white boy, and he had
Mhm.
on overalls,
Mhm.
a blonde-haired little white boy, and he would mostly be upstairs. I would always see him upstairs. I would never see him downstairs. He would always
Mhm.
be upstairs in the hallway. And I wasn't scared. I didn't get a spooky feeling or anything like that. It was just like,
Mhm.
hmm, yeah, how do you
Okay.
do? You know. And again, it was just like, you know, I don't know who you are, but apparently you feel like this is your house too and you should be here. So just don't bother us. I won't bother
Mhm.
you. And that was it.
Mhm. Mhm. Did you ever tell your parents about them? Did anybody
I
else
think
in the house see them except for you?
I was the only one that saw him. I do remember telling my mom about it at the time.
And what did
And
she say?
she was basically like, well, don't mess with him. If he messing with you, don't mess with him. You know, she was like,
Yeah.
just make sure you keep your house clean and, you know, keep stuff out of corners. And to this day, I still don't like things in corners of my house. I like to keep the corners clear,
Mhm.
you know, unless
Mhm.
it's something live like a plant or something, but no
Mhm.
junk or
Mhm.
anything like that. So, yeah, I pretty much just took my mom's advice and was like, you know, I'm not going to mess with you. Don't mess with
Yeah.
me. And we'll be
Mhm.
fine. We can cohabitate in this space, but I don't want
Yeah.
no trouble.
I think it's interesting that when we encounter these beings, or whenever we see these spirits or whatever, that we never really, the first thing we do is go on the defense. Is like, just don't mess with me, don't mess with me, don't, instead of just asking, like, who are you, what do you want? Because I, as an adult, I see things like that all the time, and I just simply, sometimes I'll just observe. But if I feel like they are directly looking at me or trying to engage with me, I'll ask, like, who are you? What do you want? You know what I mean? So I think it's
Yeah.
interesting that a lot of times that we don't ask, we just kind of go on the defense about why they're there. Because one of the experiences I've had is that sometimes when I see these beings, is that, and I think I mentioned this yesterday, or maybe it was in the women's group, that sometimes they, like, we may live in places where we really don't research the land or research uh, where we live very often. And sometimes
Mm.
these layers of time are just existing on top of each other, because in the spiritual world there's no sense of time. And so
Right.
these realms of reality are just kind of all smashed together. So you could have been seeing somebody that was, that lived there maybe 100 years ago, 200 years ago, or whatever. And so when I'm seeing these beings, like, sometimes I'll see them just, they're just passing by. They're just passing through, like, just like, people walking on a crowded street or something. They're just going by. They're not necessarily there for me. They're just walking by. And so it just made
Right.
me think about just the concept of time, and how all these different realities are just kind of stacked on top of each other. And even when certain disasters happen in areas where, like, there are mass killings or mass shootings and everything, how those energies and those spirits just kind of, they're still there. They just kind of still linger in that spot. And who knows, a subdivision or a mall or something or whatever may be built like right on top of it, and you never know, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me bring in this other caller. Oh, go ahead. Finish your point, and I'll bring him in.
No, I was just gonna say that that is very interesting. Like you were talking about the in yesterday's show, the mass shooting in I believe it was Sandy Hook.
Yeah, yeah. There have been so many, you know, every Colorado, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, to us, it's like, oh, it's so random. Like, it was such a nice little quaint neighborhood or whatever, and those innocent children didn't deserve to, you know, be taken out that way. And certainly they did not, but, yeah, you have to wonder, like, what happened there? Because nothing happens for no reason.
Yeah, yeah. I know even in the place where I live, someone actually did a book where they researched this area like extensively, and they found that this particular area had if not the most, but one of the top places in the United States for like a mass hanging of Black people, just all at once. Wow. And I found that, like, I was like, whoa, that's kind of interesting, you know, and it kind of makes sense a little bit, because I know the energy here is very dense and very heavy. And I find that, you know, that's kind of common just in the South in general. But I just thought that was really interesting that because they were actually, I think, doing some research just on their own family and the history of their family in this particular place. And you know, upon finding that information, they ran into just the information about, you know, slavery and everything in this particular town. But let me bring in this other caller real quick. This is 850. Greetings.
Hi, I just wanted to call in and tell you, just love listening to your show and love the story about ping pong. But I wanted to tell you, you know, I had an experience. Oh, this goes back about 20 years ago. I was next to my grandmother when she passed away, and there were about 5 times in my life that I actually heard her voice after she passed, and I was only maybe 2 feet away from her when she passed, and it was her voice was as clear as, you know, we're talking right now. Yeah. And it was unbelievable, you know. And it was really hard times in my life, you know. Well, you know, my wife and you know our family, and it you know, just about that soothing voice, you know what I mean? Like what it was is when my wife was pregnant with one of our children. And it was real touch and go, you know. And my wife, I wish she was here to tell you the story, but my wife never met my grandmother because she passed away before we got married. And the doctors kept saying to my wife, you know, that we didn't, you know, they didn't know if our son would make it through the pregnancy or not. And so one night I went to bed early, and my wife I fell asleep in front of the television. And my wife was in bed, and my wife woke up like in tears. She said, this woman came to me in a dream. And she said, she took my hand, and she rubbed my hand, and she just said, everything's going to be okay. I'm watching over you. And it was about 4 or 5 years later, we went back to Chicago, and my grandfather gave me pictures of my grandmother and my wife. Oh, my God. I can still see her face, or the color just drained from her face. She goes, that's the woman in my dream. And you would have just fell to the floor. You would, you know what I mean? Just that reaction. And, you know, so, you know, when things happen like that, you know, there's no denying it, you know. And there was a couple other times it happened too, you know, that, you know, I could just hear her voice, you know, and she's just, you know, when you know, like I wanted to make the right turn, and she's like, no, you know, don't do that, do this, you know. And I listened, you know, and then here you find out, you know, a couple minutes later, or a day later, there was a bad car wreck, or you didn't go. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, who's to say? You know?
Yeah. Have you ever tried to actually, you know, contact her or to like on a regular basis instead of just, you know, instead of kind of letting her come to you?
Over about the last, I'd say about 6 months, I can't even explain it to you, but I'm on this weird spiritual journey, and it's amazing. I don't even know how to explain it to you. You know, it's like, you know, I think I've come to like this turning point in my life that it's like, oh, you know, like out with the old baggage, in with the new, you know, like this whole changing of your life. Sure. And it's you know, and it's like, wow, you know, so yeah, you know, I'm into this whole meditation and spiritual thing, and it's like so life changing. I don't even know how to explain it, you know?
Yeah. Definitely.
And it's
definitely.
Like, whoa, you know. But I just wanted to call in and tell you I enjoy the show, and I just wanted to, you know, just call in real quick and tell you, you know.
Okay.
So,
well,
thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. I'm going to bring in another caller really quick. This is 347. 347.
Peace, Mr. Kim. How you doing?
Peace. I'm well. How are you?
Peace, this is Tasha. I'm doing really well.
Peace.
Good.
Peace.
Well, I'm calling because I wanted to share a little bit of my experiences with my psychic abilities. Just like how you were mentioning before with the sister in the group, you know, as a child, I had a lot of voices in my head. Now, I did like Tasha too, but I think I didn't see anything though. I just pretended that I had an imaginary friend to kind of make sense of the voice in my head.
Yeah. Okay.
After the years, I got closed off, but I would say about between 15 and 30, I was really closed off.
Yeah.
But during that time, I had really weird experiences where, you know, I was like one of those people that always walked around with their headphones in. And there was 2 times. There was one time where I was crossing the street. I really wasn't paying attention. And I was about to walk, and then I felt someone pull me by my book bag. And then a cab went by. And then the second time, a few years later, I felt a hand push me back by my chest. And then a bus was coming by. And I also quickly will share a story about one time I was living alone. I moved out of my house right about when I left for college. And I was living in a basement. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I graduated college. I was living in a basement, and I was working late. I had the late shift, so I would come around home like around 1 o'clock in the morning with Donnie. And it's for a while now. And then we were having some activity in the house, like some burglary activity for like a few weeks. And then one time I saw like a head appear in the window. I was just like looking inside because inside was dark. And then my neighbor called the cops, etc. So fast forward like a few days later, you know, so when I got home, I usually cook, you know, do like the regular getting back, you know, from home, from work type of thing. And I had the door open so that the air would flow. And then I heard a voice in my head tell me, go close the door. So I went to close the door. 20 minutes later, I hear cops on my door and looking through the window and stuff. You know, I don't do with cops, so I just, you know, I shut down the lights and I close it, you know, whatever. So then the following day, I talked to my neighbor. Oh, actually, my neighbor was waiting for me. I come out to go to work, and she tells me if everything was okay, about the man. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, I called the cops last night because you had your door open, and then I saw someone jump over the gate. And since I lived in the basement, my door was in the back. So he was walking down the side of the house. This is her telling me. So that he was walking down the side of the house, and then as soon as he turned the corner, you closed the door.
Wow.
And my heart sank, and I was like, oh my God. Ever since then, I've been believing in angels, or I knew about angels. So I thought that, I just had a guardian angel with me. But now I understand that it wasn't an angel. It was just, I guess, my spirit guides, or just something a lot more deeper than just an angel.
Yeah.
Wow. And now with our new training, I'm embracing it even better. I'm getting more comfortable with that side of me, which I appreciate, because it's so silly to have such mysterious things happen to you, and then you just brush it off like, it's just a story.
Like it's nothing, Because just like you said, when you do that so often, you kind of close yourself off to that energy. And even as you were talking, you said it stopped like around 15. It seems like it starts to happen around puberty. When you get caught up more just in the world and worldly things, going to school, boys and, girls and relationships and, just all this other kind of stuff. You get so distracted with it, like you don't hear it anymore, or you don't see it anymore.
Or you don't even listen anymore, like you don't pay attention, so you don't care.
You're not paying attention to it at all anymore. And those energies are there, like you said, to protect you. Even the last caller that called in, who was saying that about his grandmother, like those kind of things happen all the time, and we just kind of we're thankful for them when it happens at the time, but we really don't go further with it in the moment to try to understand, well, what's going on, or even to realize, this, my ancestor or whatever, they've been here with me this whole time, and I've been ignoring them. It's only, like when we're in a crisis, when we're like hypersensitive to everything, because we're looking for something to save us or to help us or to guide us in some kind of way, that now we're paying attention to everything, We're praying, we're doing all these different things to try to get some help with the situation, but they're there all the time, just like, we learned in the training that, your egun are within you as well. It's in your blood. So they're always there. It's just trying to establish some type of gateway or altar, shrine, whatever you want to call it, to have them to connect to all the time, so that they know that, hey, I'm listening, I'm here, you know what I mean? And you feed those energies so that they can keep coming back to you, you know what I mean, to help strengthen those relationships. Yeah. Those things, it's interesting. Like you said, they happen all the time. These things happen. And whether it's your higher self or an ancestor or if you want to call it your guardian spirit or whatever, it's the energy is there. It's just that, we're just not that sensitive to it anymore. Until we come into something like this where we're like, okay, I can't ignore it anymore. Let me start studying this stuff a little bit more to try to understand what exactly is going on here.
And what's funny is that now we're looking for all the signs. Not like everything. We're trying to decode everything.
We're decoding everything. Why was it that color? What, we're analyzing what time of day it was. We're breaking down the numerology. We're looking to astrology. We're noticing everything. We analyze everything, trying to explain certain situations. And I find that interesting too, because you hear a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube, like when a celebrity passes or something like that. Now they want to do the numerology breakdown. See, I knew this was going to happen, because if you add the person's birth date, you get this number, and this number means that, and it corresponds to this particular planet, and then this planet at the time, this person's birth chart was blah, blah, blah. So we just go overboard with it. But nobody ever talks about the time before the death or before something actually happens. Like where's all this stuff been? It's like always after the fact that everybody wants to do a breakdown now. You know what I mean? So I just find that interesting. I think it's important that, you know, we are kind of in tune, or make sure that we're in tune with it before things happen. You know, just like, you know, the example that you used, you know, where you were saved a few times before something actually happened.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And I just imagine how much energy they had to expend to like actually push, you know, because like now I feel like when I first got into this, I felt like my egg bloom were like, finally. You know, finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been trying to talk to you for years. Yeah, I've been trying to get
now I feel like I have to give them a lot more offerings because I haven't been for so long, and they've like expended their resources trying to communicate to my hard-headed, you know, self.
Yeah. Yeah. That is quite common. Yeah. And like I said before in the show, it's like once they know that you're there, like everybody starts to come. I was like, oh, finally, somebody's plugged in. Okay, let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what's going on here. You know, so then all the family secrets and everything start to come up. Then you start asking family, you know, do you remember such and such? You know, all that stuff starts to come up then, because it's like finally somebody is listening.
Yes. And they talk loud too.
They do. They really do. They come through strong, especially if you're feeding them. You know, that's another thing that I think sometimes we ignore, and not just the good spirits, like the bad spirits too. Like you can also feed those energies. And even yesterday we were just talking about like just the energy within a house, and why we do not only spiritual cleansings for ourselves, but also your home. And there's actually an exercise in phase 1 training where you go over this. But it's important to spiritually clean your home as well, because our houses hold so much energy, especially like, you know, you were saying, Tasha, if you live in an old house and it's never really been clean. You know, we can paint and move furniture around and pull up the hardwoods or put carpet down. You can do all these, you know, physical changes, but the actual frame of the house, or the foundation of the house, has never really been addressed. So these spirits and things, they still kind of just linger around, and you don't know what type of energy it is. That's why I was like, you know, sometimes you just have to ask, who are you? You know, what do you want? And this is covered a lot, like in different like horror movies. You know, I even talked about that yesterday. You'll find that like a lot of horror movies are really like psychological thrillers, so to speak. It's like somebody always moves into an old house, you know, and the child or whatever that of the family moves in. They're, you know, playing with the spirit, or they're hearing something or seeing something, or, you know, the house is always haunted, and then you find out later that someone was killed in the house, or somebody did something to the person in the house, and nobody ever, you know, reconciled what happened, or nobody ever, the person was never caught, you know, the murderer or whatever was never caught, or they were molested. All these different kind of things, you start, you know, that those things kind of happen in these movies. And I think that happens a lot just even in real life. Like, you don't know what type of energy is in that home. And, you know, a long time ago, and I think some, you know, a lot of people still do it, like when they get ready to move into a house, they have, you know, like a house blessing. They may have like a clergy member or somebody to come by and pray over the house, or, you know, do some incense or something like that in the house before the family actually moves in. You know, I don't know if people, you know, I think that's the whole purpose of housewarmings, you know, when you invite people over and they bring stuff. But they used to have like a priest or somebody to come by and bless the house before you move in. And I was saying yesterday that they even still have, those, what is it, house blessing or money blessings or something like that, the incense or the aerosol company.
You see that at the dollar store.
Yeah. I used to see those all the time. So yeah, sometimes you have to do those things, you know what I mean, before you move in, or just research the area to see, what's the history of the neighborhood or the history of the house or the history of the land, just the area that you're moving into. Because you never know. You just never know. Yeah.
Even especially being in an apartment, because we're in an apartment now. And I didn't even think about it until after I got a reading shortly after my mom passed. And she was like, on top of all the other bad news that she had to tell me, she was like, you need to clean your house too. And I'm like, my house is clean. And she's like, no, not like that. You need to spiritually clean because something happened in there. And I didn't even think about that. I'm like, it's an apartment, like whatever. Yeah. But if you think about it, like hundreds and hundreds of people move in and out of apartments. So
all
you
the
don't
time.
know what. Yeah, you don't know what went down before you signed your lease and moved in there. You know what I mean? So, and even the things that happened while you were there.
Yeah. And not only that, you got people all around you, people on both sides, underneath you, on top of you. You know what I mean? So, like you said, you have tons and tons of spirits. I find it, like I was saying in the women's group on Monday, like you really start to feel this in experiences like in hotels and hospitals. You know what I mean? Where people are just in and out, and you start to feel all of that energy, or you really start to feel and see things, where people are just constantly in and out. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of us are really sensitive to those things, and some people just kind of just ignore it, or maybe they're, no longer in tune with it, but it always seems to come out a little bit later in life, after you've gone through so much in your life where you're trying to just get a deeper explanation of things, like, why is this always happening to me, or why is this happening, or why is that happening? We start to try to search for some answers. We spend that middle part of our life just being in the world, So it's like sandwiched in between. You feel it when you're really young or when you get older.
Yeah.
But So everybody that's on the line, I see we have a few callers. If you'd like to share, if you have any questions, make sure you press the number 1. Number's 515-605-9862. All right, we're talking about psychic abilities. And there are tons and tons and tons of different types of abilities. You have some people that are clairvoyant, which means they can kind of sense things. They can, just sense things. You have people that are clairsentient, where they can, they feel stuff all the time. Clairaudience, of course, is like you start to hear things. All different types of things. And then you have, what we talked about on Monday was like divination, which is when you start to try to actually use some type of medium to translate those messages, so you get a little bit deeper into it then. Some people are telepathic. And I know everybody probably on this call has probably had this experience where, you'll have a thought about somebody or a thing or an event or something like that. And next thing you know, like a couple of days later, you see the person, or it happens, or you get a phone call or something. You're like, oh, I was just thinking about you. You know what I mean? So, like, stuff like this happens all the time. But it's like, okay, how do I create some type of channel, or how do I make myself more aware of it? And so, of course, that's where your spiritual training comes in. You kind of learn a little bit of everything, and then try to figure out, okay, oh, this is my gift, or my, whatever it is, it speaks to me this way, or I know that I can use Obi or tarot or pendulum, whatever it is, I can use this to kind of divine, with it. You have these certain objects or things that you may be drawn to. So yeah, that's why the training is really important, to kind of expose you a little bit to everything, or just kind of start to study different things. People feel and hear and see and have all different types of intuition. So the trick is to figure out which one you have, and figure out how to control it. A lot of times we have trouble controlling it. It just we know that it comes or that it happens, but we don't know how to initiate it, or how to activate it at will. When we want it to happen. So even like this upcoming webinar that's about to be released on dreams, I was speaking in that particular webinar about how to even prepare yourself to dream. There are certain things that we can do to actually activate it, or to actually go into it at will. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different practices or different things that you can do to kind of cultivate those gifts. So yeah, it happens quite often. So what are some other things that I'm trying to see? Let's see here. Okay, yeah, we've got a few callers on the line. I know a lot of you all are just kind of sitting and listening again. Just make sure you press the number 1 to come in and make a comment, or if you have a question or anything. This is like a big issue, because a lot of times, when I do these shows, we always get questions and stuff after. Now somebody wants to have a long, drawn-out conversation about it, but now is the time to kind of talk about it. You don't have to be afraid or scared. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody has your number. We can't see your face, so it's okay. But
well, I'll tell you about another experience I had with my mom. God, that one was so crazy. Because we would, as a child, and even in my adult life before she passed, we would always talk about, we're weird together. Like, we would always talk about, like, our funerals and what we wanted to happen. She was like, I want y'all to be stomping and singing and crying. I mean, I need dramatics. I need everything going down, And I'm like, Mom, ain't nobody doing all that. So, and she would just talk about stuff like that. And so she would always tell my sisters and I, like, when I pass, I'm gonna come back. I'm scared a mess out of y'all. Watch. I'm freak y'all out. And I'm like, Mom, please do not. Yeah. Do not do that to me, okay? And she's like, I'm totally doing it. I'm gonna do it. So wow. A couple weeks, maybe a month, because after she passed, I stayed in Virginia for a while before I came back home to Florida. So when I came back home, I'm asleep, and I literally felt someone nudge me on my butt 3 times. It was like a hard nudge 3 times. And so I got up. I'm thinking it's my husband. And he wasn't even in the bed. He had gotten up, because he's a night person. He gets up in the night and plays instruments and stuff like that. So he was up and out the bed, out of the room, out of everything. And I'm like, what was that? I knew it was my mom. I knew it was her. And I was like, Martine, not tonight. I'm not playing with you. Wow. And I said that out loud and laughed and went right back to sleep. Like, it was nothing for me to fall back asleep, but I knew it was her crazy self. Instantly. And she said she was going to do it, and she did it, and I was like, I ain't even scared. So there you go. Yeah. It's interesting, too, how you can pick up on whether or not the energy is
dangerous or not. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can see things or feel energies and you instantly feel like some type of comfort, or you're not afraid, or anything, but sometimes you can run into energies where it does frighten you. That's what I was saying. Like, sometimes you may just have to ask, like, who are you and what do you want? I remember when I first started communicating with a lot of my Agun or whatever, it really kind of opened me up a little bit to just everybody it seems like everybody that I've ever come into contact with. Because I'll have dreams or visions about people I went to high school with or whatever that I really didn't even have a relationship with. And I tell you, something interesting happened recently. I had a dream about a classmate. This was probably last year sometime. And I remember talking to her or something in the dream, saying that we were talking about death or something was going to happen or something like that. And I was just asking her, are you okay? Or, what's going on? And just recently, like on the 1st, her uncle was shot. And when I saw that, she had posted something on Facebook about it. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And it just triggered something in me. I was like, oh, I had a dream about her, last year. And so I'm like, now, ever since, and it's gotten really, really strong, like within the past couple of years. So like, I don't take any of it lightly at all. Like when I get these messages or have these visions about different people at all.
No,
it's to the point now.
You're that portal. You're that open portal. So you can't take it lightly.
Yeah, and it's almost kind of scary because it's like when I have these visions or whatever, I'm always asking myself, should I talk to this person, or should I check in on them, or should I call them, or just what exactly am I supposed to do? With this information, you know what I mean? Because you don't want to scare somebody, or you don't want to, and my thing is like, I know I'm not wrong because it's happened too many times. You know what I mean? It's just trying to decide, what to do with the information, how you should approach the person with the dream or with the whatever it was that you saw. I know I had another family member come to me in a dream, and this particular family member has never showed up in a dream. So when she did, and I make offerings to her, along with my other Egun, quite on a regular basis. So it wasn't surprising. Like when she came through, I was just like, oh, I haven't seen you. So, and this is, she passed away some years ago. But one of the things, I'm going to share this with you all, kind of startled me a bit. She came to me in a dream and she told me that, and this was probably about a couple of weeks ago, she told me that somebody was going to die in the next couple of weeks. And I remember asking her in the dream, like, who is it? Who is it? And she never did give me an answer, of who it was. And another family member in the dream was telling me to, just kind of, she was like, don't think about it. It's only going to make you cry. You know what I mean? So I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what's going on? What's the problem? And so my thing is like, I don't know. I still don't know, who it might have been or who it is. I haven't heard any reports from any family members or anything about anybody that's passed. So I'm thinking maybe it's just somebody that I'm close to, not necessarily a blood relative. But yeah, I just, that's like kind of like the first time I'm really even speaking it out loud. I think I told maybe one other person, but I don't know, and just recently, just through the entire like past 3 or 4 weeks, like so much has been happening. So much stuff is coming through and so many messages are coming through for me that I'm just really just kind of trying to sort it all out and try to understand what's going on. But yeah, I mean, this is a big topic. I think maybe some people may be embarrassed, or whatever. They don't want to tell their ping pong stories, But it's really, really common. It's not something to be embarrassed about or anything. It's very common that kids do this, and even adults. So yeah.
I wonder if you could do divination on your questions.
Yeah.
Though. Like about that death that's apparently about to happen. Just
I
to
think
get
I do have an answer.
Yeah.
I have divined on it, and I did get a few more answers. I just didn't get a specific person. Now it's interesting because a couple of nights later, I did have another dream where someone did die in a dream. So that particular person, they're still here. So I think that might have been a little bit unrelated or whatever, because the night that I had that dream, I was doing some spiritual work, and some things happened, but I don't know, I don't know. Everything seems to be okay so far. I haven't heard anything, so.
Yeah. I guess some things are supposed to remain in the dark,
Or it could have been like a metaphysical, like a metaphysical death. You know what I mean? Like something like, like old way, or old something is going to die, or, something like that. But I don't know. I got the feeling in the dream that it meant like a real physical death. So, because this is, like I said, this has happened to me before, and this particular relative was the grandmother. I'll say this: it came from the same family, and the grandmother she was the grandmother on the paternal side. Well, the grandmother on the maternal side also came to me in a dream once before, and was telling me the same thing. So it was the same family, and the same thing happened. Like that particular time, like I knew who it was that was dying, and they did pass. So I thought it was interesting. So that's why I was like checking on those family members, like, is everybody okay, in that family, or, trying to figure it out. So I don't know. Yeah. But it happens quite often. Let's see here. We've got about an hour left, everybody, in the show. We're just talking about psychic abilities and things like this. Yesterday, Sister Danetta called in with some really good questions that she had, and we started to kind of even just kind of get off on other subjects that, they were related, of course, but started to get into it just a little bit deeper. And that's when we started to talk about just experiences with the land and with time and everything. And she asked a really important question about trees and how much energy and things that trees hold. And that's what I was saying, like, it's, when you come further south, I think the energy is a lot denser just because you do have trees. And, you think about how old trees are and how much information is stored within a tree. You kind of saw it just in the movie Avatar. The tree was called, was it Awa? Was that the name of the tree or the name of the spirit? But they, whenever they would try to tune into this energy of Awa or whatever, they would all sit around the tree, be connected through this tree. And so even just that kind of solidified for me, like when I go back to, Louisiana or these small towns and things like this, how many trees are there, and just the energy that you feel when you're walking through certain places, where there are a lot of trees and everything, like you can feel it. And it just made me think again, just of, slavery, like how many my ancestors or how many people were hung from trees. You know, it's like those trees are just kind of like crying out, and those energies are just still there. You know.
Yeah.
I was watching recently. I was watching this movie. It was an Asian movie. I can't remember the name of it, where this girl's aunt hung herself from a tree and committed suicide. And she would wake up in the middle of the night all the time, and she would see her aunt, you know, hanging from this tree. Like she would always get messages around, you know, when she would get close to this tree. So it just makes me, you know, it just makes me think about that, you know, just being around and how, you know, we're encouraged to take walks in nature and all this kind of stuff, just how much energy is really flowing just through nature, and how many, you know, how you can get answers or get grounded and all this kind of stuff, just sitting by water, you know, or sitting under a tree, or, you know, whatever. And it also explains too why we use a lot of natural elements in our rituals and on our shrines. Like you never want to put anything synthetic on there. You don't want to put any plastic or anything like that. I know we get questions quite often when people are asking, you know, like what kind, where can I buy this? You know, even something as simple as sand. Like people will go to the store and buy sand. Like, no, just go to a beach or something and get some sand. You know, so everything is so synthetic and fake. Like, what kind of energy do you think you're going to get from something plastic or, you know, from things like that? Like, you always have to include natural things. And so that's when you kind of get into the energies of earth, air, fire, water, and ether, and how in every ritual, like, you're including those elements. So you always want to make sure that your shrine or your altar is always has, you know, natural materials on it. Even while we, you know, put the shrines on the floor is a huge thing. Like, you know, if you really think, why are we putting them on the floor, not necessarily like raised up from the floor on a table, or why you would even put down like a wooden mat if you know, put it on, you know, if you have like carpet or something maybe, or whatever. You always want to try to connect through something natural.
Yeah, I know when I was setting up mine, it took me a while to really complete it, and I'm thinking about expanding on it because the table I have is a little crowded right now, but it is on a wooden table which sits on a straw mat. But even in finding picture frames for the pictures, I had to go to a couple of thrift stores and get like old wooden and metal frames, you know, and make sure that they weren't plastic or, you know, anything man-made. They were, and some of them I had to refurbish. Like I had to glue them together and, you know, just kind of custom make them to fit the picture. But I mean, to me, it was totally worth it because it's like you said, you can't have that energy coming through plastic. You know, it has to be organic in order for, like you said, those spirits to meet up. That's the meetup spot. So they have to be able to come through, you know. And like I said, it took me almost 6 months to really put it all together. But it's done now, and it's a small space. It's not a really big space, but it's very sacred. And people who come over, and I'm starting to have more people in my house now because I take clients at home. But the space that I have is like off on my second balcony, so people don't go out there. I don't let people, you know, walk through that space too much, but they can see it when they first come in my house. So they're like, oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah, what's going on over there? You know, and it does. It's inviting. You know, it draws people there. So it makes me feel good that, you know, people are at least intrigued and they're not spooked by it. You know, they want to know. You know, oh, what is
Yeah.
that? Oh, that's so pretty. You know,
Yeah.
so it's cool. It's cool, but you gotta put work into it. You can't just slap a table
Some
with a
things
cloth
together.
on it, like surprise, here we go. It's like nah.
Yeah. Put some thought into it and some care, some thought and some care into it, and think about the purpose of it. You know, that makes you want to get the materials, or, put a little more effort into it, or even really most shrines are outside. They're really supposed to be outside. So it's even, you're connecting even more with nature. But if you don't have that, the opportunity to do that, of course, you can have them indoors. But yeah, you have to kind of, think about this, not be so quick to say, oh, let me go and buy this, let me go and buy that. And I know I've seen some shrines where people have put together, they're so pretty. You have a lot of, I think that's like an Oshun kind of thing, to make everything all nice and neat and pretty. And I have maybe like a couple that are nice and pretty to look at. But then I get to like my Eshu or my Ogun shrine or something like that, and it just looks a hot mess. But it's because of the things that go into the shrine. And I remember before I got, really heavy into African spirituality or whatever, I would watch documentaries or whatever, or even see like certain shrines that were outside, and I look at them like, why is it so messy? Why does it look so disjointed and just out of order? Like, why can't it be all nice and neat? You have these images of like, Catholic shrines where, they have all this brass and gold and everything is so, shiny. I'm just like, why is it always so messy? But it's like now I'm like, now I understand. You got palm oil all over everything. Or you got, you got railroad spikes and knives and, all this other kind of stuff. Or you may have, the food on it may have rotted or something like that. And I've had teachers tell me before, coming into the Anu stuff, that were saying like, if the food starts to rot on the shrine, you need to throw it away. You need to throw it away because you don't want your ancestors eating that. But it's like Chief was explaining once, like you don't always, unless it's like in the house and you're not trying to attract rodents or whatever. Like no, you can. It's fine to let it decompose because it's a sign of life. Like when it starts to grow mold or something like that. Like it's a sign of life. Like you're not always trying to just clean it off, all the time. So that was a different perspective for me. I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was definitely one of those people like, oh, no, it's ants and it's moldy. I got to clean it off, And now I got some stuff on there right now. It's looking a little questionable, but I'm going to let it do what it do, until I usually get a feeling where it's like, okay, now it's time to get rid of it and, offer something else.
You kind of know when to take something off. Something else that we talked about yesterday was just different types of shrines and things that we may participate in or make offerings to that we're completely unaware of. And one of the examples that I used was like just fountains. Like if you go into like a hotel or maybe a town square or something like that, you'll see all these elaborate fountains or, a statue of a war hero or something like that. And there's a fountain dedicated to them. These are altars. These are shrines. You know what I mean? It's like, and I don't think people have really even thought about it as much. We go there and we just throw in some money and make a wish, but the people that build them, like they erect them in certain spots. That is thought of. The statues and things are always maintained. They make sure that they're clean. They always have water flowing. You know what I mean? And you have to think about what are you doing. Like they include information about the person, when they, whatever their accomplishment was, when they were born, when they died. And then you go there and you're throwing in copper, silver, So that's an offering. Think about what we use copper and silver for when we do rituals. Like, this is a ritual, and a lot of people who don't believe in these type of things are like, if that's pagan or that's devilish or whatever it is, it's like, no, you're doing it unknowingly. You're going to the shrine, and it may be a shrine of, I don't know, some war hero that may have slaughtered a lot of your people, and you're going there and you're giving your energy and everything, and you're making an offering to that person, making that energy stronger. Certain powers that be, they're very aware of that. Money is another thing that we participate, that we use all the time, that we don't really think about what we're doing. If you look at a dollar bill or even a coin, look at all the information that's on it and all the symbols and everything. There are a lot of occult symbols on a dollar bill. There's a person. And if you've studied, presidents or anything like that, you'll find that a lot of the presidents are related, or they come from the same families. And so this is a way of them keeping the spirits and the energies of those family members alive. Think about how much energy you spend to get $20 or $100 or whatever. And then, it's constantly in circulation. We even call it currency, so it's always in the flow. And think about, just how many wars and how many sacrifices and things were made to get that money. So, we participate in a lot of rituals, that we're just completely unaware of. But when it comes to doing it for yourself or having it in your own house, that's when we get spooked. That's when we're scared. That's hoodoo. That's that hoodoo stuff. Or I don't want that stuff in my house. We get scared of it.
Which I don't understand, because why would you not want it close to you?
That's grandma. Like, why are you afraid of grandma?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't want that stuff coming to me. I've had family members say that. No, they dead. No, I don't try to. They don't mess with that. Like, wow. That to me, that has always fascinated me.
My grandma always told me, and I'm sure this was a common saying amongst the old folks, but ain't the dead people you need to be worrying about. It's the people walking amongst you that will do more damage, trust me, than the ones that are dead. She would say that all the time. Don't worry about the dead people. Yeah. You need to worry about this person over here you calling your friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. And it's almost quite the opposite, because your ancestors can block and hinder a lot of things in your life. Like, a lot of the problems that we have, our ancestors are creating those problems, trying to get your attention or trying to tell you, nope, don't do this. Nope, don't marry that person. Nope, don't have a baby with this person. It's not gonna work out. It's gonna bring a lot of trouble into your life. Or telling you, nope, we didn't agree on this. Nope. We have a lot of signs and things that we ignore and that we're afraid of. I'm gonna bring. I think this is Chief. Bring Chief in. Greetings, peace, Chief. Are you there? You are on. Okay, I don't know. Maybe he has the phone muted, or okay. I'll just leave it on. You can jump in at any time. But yeah, our ancestors can block and cause a lot of hindrances in our life, especially when we're not listening to them. Are you there, Chief?
I've been here.
I kept saying, did you hear me? I was like, peace, peace, peace.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I didn't do anything different.
Okay.
Yeah. So I heard y'all talking about. Well, I got to pick up. I think yesterday's show, a little bit late last night, though, not when the show actually aired. I think it was yesterday's show. It was the one that Netta called in and she was talking about letting go of the past, something like that.
Yes.
Right. So, yeah, it was a pretty good show. I got to hear it late last night, but I know just now. Yeah, I caught a little bit. I'm coming in late because I'm working, but I caught a little bit about y'all talking about old moldy women hanging around the shrine, something like that, around the altars.
No, not old moldy people.
Oh, moldy women.
Oh, you sure?
No,
I
didn't say old moldy women.
Oh, okay. I thought y'all was talking about the Crones.
No.
Oh, okay, but you know, it did bring up something though. Like, I know she had expressed, when I say she, I'm speaking about Danetta, you know, some difficulty with kind of letting go of the past and moving on beyond things. And I know that it did come up in conversation previously with the sisters in terms of sometimes there being a measure of jealousy amongst women, in particular between older women and younger women. And, you know, there are generational tools that you're supposed to be tapping into from a spiritual perspective. And sometimes there's certain things that you're not able to get done because you don't have the full formula of your generational tools. So, like, when you're a younger woman, Netta, I think she's still in the mothering phase of her life. And, you know, to be clear, like, if you're still having children or able to have children, things like that, you're probably more in that mother phase, even if you're beyond your prime years for childbirth, you know. But the master energy, or the archetypical cardinal energy that you would work with in order to be able to let the past go, is actually the Crone energy, or that Oba energy who comes with the Sith. So a lot of times younger sisters have trouble letting things go because they don't have the balance of their feminine gender around them. You know, all women at all times are supposed to have maidens around them, old wise women around them, and mothers around them. You got to have all of them. And if you don't have, and that's for men too, you know, you have to have the full complement of that gender community, or certain magic you're not able to even tap into because you don't have it alive in you yet. So that Western segment of your casting surface, where you're able to let things go and to release things into the water, that segment is, of course, ruled over by, you know, your older energies, your older watery energies that allow you to move on and to let go. So a lot of times when you're not able to do that is because you don't have any old sage-like women or wise women around you. But just trying to do it yourself, you're not going to be able to do it. You know, and in the same instance, a lot of times you have older women who are trying to get things started or popping in their life, you know, like they want to move or start a new job, or a lot of them, you know, they want to start new careers. They want to sell pillows and sweaters and stuff like that. You can't do it if you don't have a young woman around you. It's not going to work, because the vibratory energy of the young woman, the maiden, before she's a mother, is she represents the beginnings of things and the hope and starting off on a journey. So the women around you are actually, they all, as well as the men, it's the same thing. They actually already represent the spiritual magic and tools that one is supposed to have around them in order to get things popping. Just like as a man, in order to get things manifested, you need a woman, but you need a certain kind of woman, you know. And as a woman, to get the proper direction, guidance, and movement, and divination, you need a man, but you need a certain type of man. So, you know, just kind of really just commenting on sometimes you talking about the competition or the jealousy between the two. Each phase needs the other phase at different phases of their life. You know, like you can't properly, for instance, you can't properly wage vengeance against someone who is taken advantage of, spiritually, physically, or emotionally without a crone present, because it's that energy of Oba, or the old woman, or Nanan Buruku. It is those older energies that actually deal with vengeance. So, like, sometimes younger sisters get upset. Maybe you got a guy who hates women, so he likes to beat up on them, and they try to do rituals or whatever to get back at him. It doesn't really work because you don't have the right energy coming with you. You need old women for that. And for you older women, a lot of times you want to get things moving, and like you want to mate, for instance. You're older, maybe your mate died or something like that. You want a new mate in your life. You're not going to be able to get a new mate without a mother energy present, because in that phase of her life, a woman is strongest in terms of attracting a mate to her when she's in the mothering phase. So that's the type of woman you want to have next to you, lighting candles and doing whatever you're doing. So I don't know. I heard a little bit about the letting go with Danetta, and I thought about that. And then also that whole jealousy that exists, that sense of jealousy, because jealousy only comes when you have a sense of ownership. You think you own something, so therefore you become jealous when someone else has access to it. But when it comes to that, just understanding an indigenous perspective, and most importantly, in our new perspective, we're dealing with holism. So in order to make things happen, you have to have the holistic ingredients to make it pop.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. Maybe I hope Danetta's listening. I'm not sure if she's tuned in or not today, but she did bring up a lot of good questions yesterday. So thank you for that. I hope she receives it. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got about 35 minutes left, everybody. If you have, I know we got a lot of people just kind of listening and hanging on. If you have a question or comment, doesn't have to be on topic. It can be about something else or about some things Chief just mentioned. Just press the number 1 to ask your question, or you can call in at 515-605-9862. I don't know, everybody's really quiet today. I don't know what's going on.
Screw 'em. But I meant to put my thing on mute. I said that out loud.
Yes.
Bless them. Bless them. Bless they're all precious angels. Every last one of them. All precious angels. But I think one of the important things too is, just as you sisters are organizing, just like the men are organizing, is always be aware of like what each other can provide in terms of your different phases. And as you're going into, like, I hear a lot of you sisters sometimes talk about, some of your disappointment in the women who came before you who didn't really give you the tools that you may need in order to kind of move through life in a certain way. And, sometimes there's a call still put forth, like, we need help, we need guidance. And I think sometimes y'all forget how old you are, so you are those women. You got gray hairs and stuff like that, and, you're old now, then you're actually the elder women that you're looking to get the answers from. So sometimes I think it's important too. And again, the same thing goes for men, because sometimes I talk to men, they're 50 years old and they're still talking about a council of elders. Like somebody 90 is going to come and now start, there's going to be an assemblage of 10 90-year-old men and women, and they're going to tell everybody what to do. But, there needs to be a recognition sometimes of the level that you've reached. And even if you're simple-minded and you're not wise, then, get some wisdom. Start applying all of the information that you learned in your maiden stage and your mothering stage. And through that application, you become wise, whether it be through your mistakes or whether it be through your victories. But then you'll be able to share wise information with those underneath you. But some of y'all are much closer to the Crone than you might realize. So, what you're looking for, you have to become.
Hmm. Yeah. That is.
Yeah. You always give us that. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm just saying that, and I'll include myself in it. It can be a bit of a challenge if you don't have the blueprint. And I'm not making excuses or anything. I feel like I'm at least on the path of creating my own lane and not, leaning on the fact of, oh, well, my childhood wasn't the best, so I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
At almost 40, I'll be 40, next? In another
You
week
lying,
or
because
so.
last time you was on the phone, you said you were 40 already. So is
Nah.
it that you're going to be 41 or 40?
40 on the 14th.
Oh, you started rewinding, going backwards. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. I'll play along.
You gotta watch you look for some extra years on there. You round up with the women. Say you're 32, you're 40.
Wisdom. It's all about the wisdom.
In my mind, I'm forever 21, but no, I will be 40 on the 14th.
Nobody want to make love of that. But listen, so here's the thing. So you telling me that you are now, like, you're finding the path to get on, right? The right path that you're supposed to be on. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, within the last couple of years, I would say so.
So that means you do have a blueprint.
I don't claim to be a wise woman by any means. I'm not in the Crone stage, meaning in knowledge. I'm not there.
I think you are, because you just said that you, in the past couple of years, you have been finding the right path. So that you have a blueprint then.
Yeah, I'm making the blueprint.
Okay, so what I think is already there, because that means if you're telling me that means that then some years before you were on the wrong path.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So then you know which way not to walk. You know where the landmines are.
Right.
Okay. So how many, think about you, I mean, you're what now? You said you're 42. So think about you now, you're 42. So when you were, my memory is not what it used to be. So think about when you were 24, and the things that you know now that could have avoided some of the mistakes you made at 24 or 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That means you have a blueprint. And there's a 23-year-old out there that needs that information.
Yeah.
You know what, Tasha, that reminds me. You remember when we were talking on a women's call and you were talking about one of the young ladies that works with you? How's that going? Like, did you ever get, because you were she was actually having an issue with one of the younger women that was coming to her with some questions, but she didn't, she was disrespectful in the way she came. But at the same time, you could tell that she was trying to reach out to an older woman to get some advice about something. How did that work out?
I actually saw her last night. I went to the school with my son so they can get their hair cut. And she was there, and she mean mugged me like she always does. And I just smiled, I was like, hey girl, what's going on? And it was like nothing. Like she was just staring through me. Like if she had a knife, she would chop me down. And I'm just like, what did I do to this woman to make her not like me so, So I don't know how to deal with that other than to just smile and keep my distance, like, okay now, because I don't know what happened.
Why don't you just ignore her?
But then is that being sisterly? Like what you were talking about in one of
when did she become a sister? Why is she a sister?
What's that?
How does she become a sister?
Well, I'll tell you this, and this is what I shared in the group. Initially, she came to me because she wanted me to do her hair. So I did her hair, and while I'm doing her hair, she's telling me about a situation with the guy. Like, she's opening up to me.
She wasn't opening. She was kicking some man's back in. She probably does that with everybody. If you was working in the deli making her sandwich while you putting the pickles on, she'd be telling you about them too.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I took that.
It's obvious because she doesn't have any love or anything towards you, so she was just using you.
Well, maybe that's, yeah. I guess.
But how did she become your sister? How is she your sister?
I'm just saying in the sense of how we need to be more united as women generally, and especially as Black women.
Who's we?
The women, us, me.
So all women of the world.
That would be great.
How the hell with that? Listen.
Am I being?
Excuse my language. I didn't mean to say the word hell. Yeah, you what you're doing is you're being too inclusive. You know, not all women are your sister. Just like when I say the term sister, I'm not speaking about all women. I'm not speaking about all melanin dominant women when I say sister. If we are not of the same family, of the same culture and code, you're not my sister. We may be identified by an external community, but I know that we're not that. You know, I'm not dying for every woman or every Black woman even. I'm not. I'll die for my sisters and my brothers. I'll kill for my sisters and my brothers. So you're making an inclusive assumption about this female. She's not being sisterly toward you, but you're creating this fantasy of sisterhood, which she's of course going to continue to violate, and you're going to continue to get your feelings hurt. And you're giving her smiles, meaning you're giving her energy. So you're giving this vampirical mongrel your energy. Why? For what? Let us sit over there and starve.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the question is, when do you, as someone who is, on this path of, doing it right and getting it right, and then reaching out to someone that would, be younger than me or underneath me that needs to know what I've already learned, how do you pick and choose when to lend that information and who to lend it to?
When they come to you asking for that information.
And she did. And I gave it to her, and then in the weeks ahead, something happened, and I was public enemy number one.
Then that's it. She's not your sister. She came to you asking for something. You gave it to her, which you probably didn't give her the right thing. I mean, let's go there. She asked you for what she wanted, but probably not what she really needed. But you gave her what she wanted, and now she despises you. And, of course, we could go through the reasons. Oh, she's probably jealous of you, girl, because you got a happy family, and you did it. But we could do all that stuff. But at the end of the day, at some point you got to have more self-respect. You're a mother, and you're a wife. That's a place of honor. So anybody looking at you funny has already violated, because you are someone's mother and you're someone's wife. Heck, you probably somebody's grandmother soon. You know what I mean? So that's not really appropriate for her to be looking at you that way or coming at you that way. And that's what sometimes you gotta even know how to give the gems and the jewels to people. You got to know who to give them to, and that's why I don't do readings for everybody. Sometimes I cancel people's readings. I don't want to do a reading for you. If people don't come at me correctly, I don't want to talk to you, because I already know where this is going. So you don't have to adopt everybody like that. And like you said, she's under me. How do you know she's under you? How do you know that she's going to succeed and be a part of your successive line and go forward from where you left off? You don't know that. This is just some brown girl,
A mean brown girl.
Yeah, then let her go off and do what, let her do her nonsense and, keep rolling around with her foolishness. Sometimes, people, when you give to them and you give to them freely, they make the assumption that you're an idiot. And then they begin to resent you because how would an idiot have so much wisdom? And then so they start to resent the divine, and then they lump you in there with it. So just like, you may, like she came and asked you for advice, you gave her the advice. She said, can you do my hair? And doing her hair, you already had to focus on that. But not only did you have to do her hair, but you also had to give her a free therapist session at the same time while you're doing her hair. So she already knows she got over on you. So now she sees you as being dumb. So immediately, like I said, her mind is going to say, well, how does this dumb woman, how she get a husband and children and got a child in college and everything? Got 2 jobs, and she's dumb because she did something for me for free. I know it sounds crazy, but sadly, that's the psychology of many people. So sometimes when people come to you for stuff, you got to make them work for it. And just by making them work for it or make them pay for it, it lets them know that you know the value of what it is that you're giving to them. And then they'll behave differently. Like I said, readings used to be $20.
Well, yeah. I'm just so not in a rush, but, and especially since I've been, participating in these calls and stuff, it's just, I don't want to be that, stuck up late, like, oh, don't talk to me. No, I ain't got nothing for you. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yes, you want to talk? You want to know about this? If I know about it, yes, I'm going to share. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know, But I think it's like you said, maybe I gave her the wrong advice and it didn't work for her and now she's bad. Or maybe I gave her the right advice and for whatever reasons it still didn't work and now she's bad. It hurt my heart because she did that, and then I got mad at myself because, like you said, I just gave it to her and I gave her the power. And now I'm sitting there like, you're mean. And I'm trying to be nice to you. You know what I mean? I could be mean too, but I'm trying to turn the corner. Did you ever ask her why she's looking at you like that? Did you ever question her and say, I noticed you've been acting a little bit different with me. Is something wrong? I was this close last night. I wanted to so bad. And something was just like, you know what? I can't. I really can't. It's too much. I got a headache now, and if she come at me sideways, I don't want to start nothing up in this salon. So I'm gonna get these boys a haircut, and I'm out. But I'm telling you, I was so close to asking her, and I didn't ask. Well, that's part of the problem, right? So you're not really sitting in the seat of your authority. She's a younger woman, right? She's younger than you? Yeah. Okay, so, you have a right as, you calling her your sister. If that's truly the relationship, then you have a right to step to her and say, what's your problem? I mean, but you probably know that there's a 95% chance that that's going to go south. No matter what you say to her. Even if you're like, sweetheart, I just love you so much, but I just noticed you just look so blue. Why are you so blue? Is everything okay? It's still going to go south. Yeah. Why are you looking at my face? Why are you worried about me? I mean, I just asked you, you already know where it's going to go. You're dealing with a mongrel. So the best thing to do. Like, is it even worth it? Well, that's why I said, why don't you just ignore it? And, like, of course, I understand you got feelings, you got hurt, and, and you're allowed to get hurt. You're allowed to have your feelings. But, sometimes you have to put qualifiers in front of people before you give them things. In this day and time, times have changed. And people just don't respect or they don't appreciate what they get as much as they used to back in the days, because there's so much access to resources and things like that.
that it's just not a big deal to them when you give them information. They could just go on YouTube and get that. You know, so nowadays you really gotta, to show the value, you gotta kind of make people work for it. You know, she asking you questions about relationships or about some guy she's with or whatever, you know, probably been better just to ask her a question. You know, like, well, what is your culture? What do you consider yourself? Do you go to church? Do you this? You know, does he go to church? What is your plan for, you know, are you guys a family? How did you meet? Start digging into her stuff. Did he have a girlfriend when y'all met? Does he ever talk about your future? This, that. Make her work for it. Yeah, forget her though, man. You know, that's, you know, you live and you learn. You made a mistake there. You know, you live and learn. But if she's not a part of your collective, then, you know, that whole formation that I shared earlier as far as the Maiden, the Mother, and the Crone, it's not really applicable if you're not a part of the same community. Because you don't know, like for instance, if we say Mother, Maiden, and Crone, right? And let's just say if we just said the Mother vibration, you know, we take on during childbearing years. Well, those years are different for different groups. You know, you got some people that will keep having babies well into their 40s. And then you have some people that after 32, 33, they're done. So would that mean now they would transition into the Crone phase? Or is there a limbo space?
Yeah.
You know, so don't worry about it. Just focus on those who are thirsty, because the more you focus on those who really want to learn and those who are really hungry for information and knowledge, the more they'll show up, and the more the appreciative ones will show up. That's why I really can't even say anymore. You may have heard on earlier shows like, yeah, people don't respect anything or don't appreciate. But I can't say that now because too many people have come through who are appreciative, who are thankful, who are grateful for the experience. And that's mainly also because I shut out those who weren't. And sometimes you have to put hard protocols in place to shut out those who aren't. You know, sometimes you have to put something in front of them just to see where they're really at with it. You know, like the sister may have asked you for some guidance. You might have said, well, check it out. You know, I like to go hiking on Sundays with my family. Why don't you meet us at the park or whatever, you go hiking. We can talk about it then. If it's really important to you, that shouldn't be that big a deal to get some free advice. Unless you just want it super easy. You don't want to do anything for it. And if that's the case, you ain't going to do nothing with the information anyway.
True.
You know? Yeah. You got to respect yourself more as a mother. Don't step outside of your mother vibration. And I know, you know, you want to be nurturing and everything like that. But as a mother, whatever it is you do has to go with your flow and your routine and your rhythm. And whenever you step outside, you're going to feel that level of resentment that you feel right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because it really, it hit me real hard when it happened. Like, she totally, like, screwed up my whole evening when it all went down. And I was just like, and again, I was more upset with myself. Like, how did I let this chick get all up in me like that? Like, nah, that's, no. I was really more upset with myself than her. By the time I, you know, went home and really, really thought about it. And, you know how you have a disagreement with somebody or a weird conversation, and then you walk away and you be like, dang, I should have said this, or this. Like, all
no,
I
never had that feeling.
Oh, I have.
I don't. That's you gotta be like,
well,
you
sure
just
you
said.
Haven't.
No.
I'm sure you haven't, but I have.
I just say what needs to be said. Just, you know, let it off your heart. Nah, you know, just let it off your heart.
Yeah.
And that's why it's still riding with you, like you said. You saw the sister last night, and you know it's still riding with you because that was your opportunity to say, everything okay?
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes you gotta put the light on the demon, and then that's how you get rid of the issue. You gotta pull the covers back. You know, like I do that all the time. Sometimes I'll be walking down the street, somebody will look at me funny, and I'll just give all my energy to hey, peace. What's going on? Peace. You know, it just it throws people off. You can tell they usually don't know how to respond. Like, you know, they do something like that, and then by then you're halfway down the block anyway. But you know, we're not gonna have this ambiguity. You know, I've done that with neighbors before. Sometimes you got neighbors and there's some young guys or something, and they're looking at you funny, and you know, y'all supposed to have this staring contest for the next couple of months. You know, and you don't really know why they're looking at you funny or this or that. I had that with a neighbor once where when they first moved in, I walked over to their yard and because they bought the house from one of their older relatives, and I used to help take care of him. And, you know, I used to like shovel his snow or whatever, you know, just go over and talk to him and stuff. So I just came over and introduced myself, and I said, yeah, you know, I knew your uncle very well, and boom, 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 boom. And they looked at me like I was a vagabond, you know. And I was in my front yard, so doing some work, so it was clear that, you know, I live here, right here. So I was like, all right, well, you know, F you too, basically. So I turned around and walked away. And at the time that's when I had my locks. So sometimes people with locks, they make certain assumptions. So it wasn't literally, it was maybe 3 years later, because this was like 2 summers ago, 3-4 years later. One of them, something had happened. Basically, long story short, I was playing with fire in my backyard, and somebody called the fire company, right? And so the fire trucks came and everything, and I'm like, nah, it's all right. Everything's cool. We just, you know, burning cooked meat to idols. So, so they left, and my neighbor said, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, what? Now?
Right, now.
You know, and I brought it right up. And I said, oh, you want to talk to, you know, and I shook her hand and she introduced us. So I said, oh, you want to talk to me now? I said, when I first came around, you looked at me like I was going to steal something. And literally that was probably like 5 years before. Maybe like 3, I think it was more than 3, like maybe 4 or 5 years before that day. And she was like, huh? Trying to pretend like, I don't know, you remember. And she was like, no, you know what it was is that we were getting reports that there was a lot of people who were taking advantage of my uncle and, you know, this and that. And there were keys all around the neighborhood to the house and people were taking money and this and that and the third. And I said, yeah, I was the one who told your uncle to take of that. And she said, wow. It was you? She was like, oh, my God, I didn't know. And she said, wait a minute, he used to talk about his butt because he had dementia. So he couldn't remember my name, but he would say my buddy from across the street. And she was like, I thought it was like some little boy or something. And I said, no, he was talking about me. I used to look out for him, and I would take the keys from people and run people off. In fact, there was somebody living in the back of his yard for like 4 months. This man was living in his shed. He didn't even know he was back there. You know, long story short, by bringing those things to light and me not playing around with it and saying, nah, sucker, I remember how you treated me when y'all first moved in, and not allowing really that demon to live anymore, the misunderstanding was dispersed. Now we cool. You know, when Amazon packages come to my door, she picks them up and, oh, it was out in the rain and I came and brought your package for you know, all that other than that. Now we best friends. You know, but you know, sometimes you don't let that demon live anymore because there's a lot of ambiguity, and those dark energies love ambiguity. They love it when because there's fear. You're afraid of how her response is going to be, what you're going to hear, because you're probably not going to hear something assuring from her. You're probably not going to hear, no, girl, it's not you. I've been looking at everybody like this. I'm going through it right now. You're probably not going to hear that. You're going to hear a lie or something like that. Ain't nothing wrong with me. That's just how my face looks. You know, it's going to be something slick like that. So, but that's how those dark energies live and grow. And now you have a demon. because of your fear to confront. Like when I confronted the neighbor, said, "Nah, sucker, you looked at me like I was crazy." Boom, 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 boom. You know, and now we're cool. But if I wouldn't have said that, and if I would have just played it off and smiled, then that energy would have still been allowed to live and persist.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might want to just say something to her.
I will.
Either ignore it.
I really will.
Yeah, there you go. And just
no,
say,
I gotta say something now because it is so thick still. Like, you know, to the point where one of the barbers was like, ooh. Like, what is this?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's there.
Right.
So I think it's like you said, I will definitely take that into consideration. Once I just confronted whatever her response is, it shouldn't even matter. It's just I just want to get it off me and just dead it already.
Right.
So I can walk into the room again and I'm not even phased anymore because I already deaded that. That's done.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say something.
There you go. And don't forget, you're her senior. So as her senior, you shouldn't care anyway.
I shouldn't.
Put that in the back of your mind. You know, so if you care, if she's acting stupid and it's affecting you, then you're not really living the privilege of your seniority.
Mhm.
Because I would have just grabbed my genitals and gave her the middle finger, and I wouldn't have thought nothing of it because I'm her senior. What are you gonna do? You started.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't do that because it's not gonna come off the same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got long arms, you know, but but definitely, you know, you need. I'm joking, but you need to live that privilege. Yeah, live out that privilege.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something, and I'll be, you know, I'm not gonna be all, you know, neck rolling and all that. I'm gonna be poised and polite about it. But at the end of the day, I would have said something, and I'm gonna get it off me because I can't.
I'm gonna tell you the best way to be. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
Because anything that you fabricate, all of that's just gonna feed into your resentment of the fact that you even said anything to begin with. Because if you go over there and you're extra polite and you do your little smile and that little smooth rhythmic voice that you do sometimes on the show, and she doesn't feed into it, or she responds like a mongrel, then you're gonna be like, then that's gonna be the next story. And you know, I came over there, I put on my best smile, I did this, that, you know. So the best thing to do is just to be yourself. So that way it's authentic. She'll give you whatever her reaction is, but you'll know at least you didn't add any extra wealth into the pot that you're not getting. You didn't put in any investment that you're not getting a return on. You know, it's like when you get pulled over from the police and they say, hey, man, I'm going to have to tow this car. And you say, wait a minute, you know, you come up with one of your good ones. Hold on now. I know I ain't got no insurance or nothing, but I have a elderly family member who needs me. I'm bringing in their medicine and all of that. And you go through all of that, and then the cop's like, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, but with tow truck, I already called it. We're taking this car.
Right.
So, you know, then you get extra mad because you're like, man, after my story and everything, then you start cursing out the cop. But you know within yourself, that was a lie you just told anyway. So, but, you know, so you throwing all this extra stuff into the pot and hoping that it's going to help you to get a better return. And when you don't get that return, then you get even more upset. So it's better just to bring your authentic self to the situation, and then you get to walk away with exactly what you came with. Don't give her anything. No fake smiles, no hugs,
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm definitely not touching her.
Yeah, we'll see. I bet she reached out for a hug. I bet you a hug her.
What if she reaches out for a hug? How do you
Man, I'd put up a block like Roberto Duran. Look, I'll block that with the quick. I take that arm, block it, and take that arm and twist it behind her back. Like, oh, now we can talk like this. You want to touch? Yeah, don't let her touch you. Come authentic. You know?
Yeah.
Because, don't let her walk all over. Because clearly you already let her walk all over you. So, in that cycle. And that's probably something you do anyway. It sounds like something you let your family do to you, too. You sound like a walkie.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds deeper than what it really is. Or it wouldn't really be affecting you so deeply. But, we're at the end of the show, so I don't want to start.
Oh, yeah, okay. Just...
Hey, this is not my show. This is Kim's show. So,
That's messed up.
Transference. That transference is real.
Ain't it?
Where's Kim at? She did this last time I was on the show. Just left. Oh, okay.
I had it on mute.
Okay. I hand it back to you.
All right. So we have come to the end of the show. So thank you all for 60 seconds. So thank you all for calling in. And even those who didn't have anything to say, because I had a few people reach out to me yesterday actually asking, what happened?
I told you, leave them people alone, man. Stop complaining when people don't speak, man. Leave them people alone. People going to get what they're going to get. And don't worry about it. And if people are calling and listening, that means you saying, you dropping some stuff that they really feel the need to hear. They don't want to interrupt it. You're smarter than you realize. And the things that you say make more sense than you're giving yourself credit for. They don't want to break up your flow of knowledge. I mean, there was a woman who called in, what was it, yesterday, day before yesterday, you rushed her off the phone. So you only want certain people to speak anyway. So you talking about all them family issues, and
I gave her a lot of time.
Everybody gave her a lot of time, but like she said, my original question, because I understand all of that, is I'm tired of being a victim. And you rushed her off the phone when she said, all right, so, it's about quality, not the clutter of quantity.
All right.
Okay, so y'all don't warm me out.
All right. So we've come to the end of the show. Again, we'll be back on tomorrow since the show airs daily now. So those of you that are on the phone that didn't know, the show airs daily. Same time tomorrow, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern. Call in with your questions or comments. And, call in with your questions or comments. I'm not trying to, run the calls all the time or always come with the information. So make sure you tune in, share. Again, remember the number 515-605-9862. And enjoy the rest of your day. Peace, everybody.